Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to this evening's meeting of the Woodstock City Council. A few brief announcements before we get started. A reminder that the meeting is being live streamed. The agenda will appear on the monitors in the conference in the City Hall chamber. The City of Woodstock operates under what's called a consent format. Consent format means that all items for action this evening will be considered in a single motion and a single vote. A member of council may ask for or may request an item to be removed for separate consideration and voting, and a member of the public may ask or may request an item to be removed as well, and if agreed to by a member of the City Council, that item will also be removed for separate consideration and voting. There are two opportunities this evening for public comment, the first being under floor discussion, public comment. Members of the public are, at that time, able to come forward to the podium in the middle of the room. If they're willing to do so, state their name and address for purpose of the record. Feel free to make comments to the Woodstock City Council on any item not on this evening's agenda. And then when we take action on any items this evening, there will be an opportunity for public comment as well. Any questions on those announcements before we get started? All right, hearing none, I'll go ahead and officially call to order this February 4th, 2025 meeting of the Woodstock City Council to order, and ask Jane to please call the roll.
Councilman Flynn. Councilwoman McMahon.
Here.
Councilman Neerman.
Here.
Councilman Segers.
Here.
Councilman Tebow.
Here.
Councilwoman Ziemba.
Here.
Mayor Turner.
Here. Record reflect that 6 of the 7 members of the Woodstock City Council are present this evening. Jane, I'll ask you to please confirm that the agenda this evening is the same as the true and published agenda.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Jane. That being the case, ladies and gentlemen of the council, the people's business is duly and appropriately before us. First item that we have on this evening's agenda is floor discussion, and under floor discussion, we have a proclamation from the City of Woodstock recognizing Black History Month. Council, without objection? Thank you. I'd like to ask Jose Rivera from our Social and Cultural Awareness Commission to please join me on the podium at the side. So Jose has been a longtime member and very active part of the Woodstock community, an active member of the, or a longtime member of the Social and Cultural Awareness Commission, and also very active in the city of Woodstock. We have a great partnership with Jose on our sister city programs, and it's been an honor over the last decade or so to work with Jose, and so I appreciate you being here to accept this proclamation tonight. Proclamation honoring Black History Month, February 2025. Whereas each year, Black History Month is observed in February, providing the opportunity to gain a deeper understanding of African American history and acknowledge the centuries of struggles for equality and freedom. And whereas in 1926, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, a noted Harvard scholar, established the observance of African American history to reveal the contributions, achievements, and involvement of African American people in the development of our American democracy. And whereas the United States government officially recognized Negro History Week in 1976 as part of the U.S. bicentennial, expanding it to Black History Month. And whereas America is a melting pot of cultures and ethnicities, all part of the land of the free, Black History Month fosters awareness and understanding while encouraging education about contributions made by Americans of color. And whereas the celebration of Black History Month is a positive way of recognizing the culture and history of African Americans as vital to the core beliefs and values of our society. And whereas Black History Month also celebrates the achievements and contributions that African Americans have made in shaping our country, society, and communities. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Woodstock City Council, on behalf of all citizens of Woodstock, wishes to observe February 2025 as Black History Month and encourage our citizens to participate in activities that foster awareness and appreciation of contributions to shaping the history of America. Approved and adopted by the City Council of the City of Woodstock, McHenry County, this 4th day of February 2025. Jose, on behalf of the City of Woodstock, It's my honor to present this to you. And again, I thank you for your contributions and role on the commission, and please accept this as part of from the city.
Thank you.
We'll go out here. I have a picture of the podium.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Certainly.
Last 2 or 3 years, I've mentioned this at this time. There's a book called Project 1619 that is an outstanding read on the struggles that African Americans came and the contributions that they've made to our society. So I would encourage you, if you ever had a chance, take some time and read Project 1619. Thanks.
Thank you, Gordy. That takes us to the next item on this evening's agenda under floor discussion, which is public comment. At this time, I would invite members of the public who wish to do so come forward to the podium in the middle of the room. If you're willing to do so, state your name and address for purpose of the record, and please feel free to make your comments to the Woodstock City Council on any items that are not on this evening's agenda.
Good evening. I am Mary Beth Walsdorf at 1135 Donegal Court in Woodstock here. And I'm coming today for public comment. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. On the city's plan to remove the three thriving businesses on East Calhoun Street to provide a parking lot for a hotel. Unique Nails, the Woodstock Dance Academy, where my own 3 children attended. They are now 21. We did used to live on South Madison Street, so it was a place we could walk to and enjoy a creative opportunity for our children. That dance academy is still thriving in that manner, and there are now second generations of Woodstock children attending that dance academy at its current location. And then there's Stewart's Cleaners, whose owners, Roberta and Maria Diaz, just celebrated their 10th anniversary as owners and operators. I reference here the Woodstock Independent from January 8th to the 14th under 10 years ago today. So 10 years ago, Kem Yong and Chung Nam Cheng, who had owned and operated Stewart Cleaners on East Calhoun Street for 28 years, announced they had passed the helm of ownership to longtime employers Robert and Maria Diaz. That's right, just this January, they celebrated their 10 years of being not only owners but operators of that thriving business right here. As a homeowner, my husband and I, as homeowners here in Woodstock now for over 30 years, we, along with many of their other customers, find the fact that we can come to town, come into this section of town, go to the bank, grab a cup of coffee, go to the cleaners, a real win. Because I can do that, we can do that, and avoid 47 and 14 and literally accomplish an errand in under 10 minutes. Like I said before, to be able to come into town, go to the bank, cleaners, swing by the bakery, grab a cup of coffee, do all that as a resident of Woodstock, and again, not having to cross into 47 and 14 is a big win on a busy schedule. We applaud City Council for being pro-business, and just as important as bringing in new business to this town, a priority should also be put on business retention. And in this case, the location for our residents that are in town in this proximity of businesses such as Stewart Cleaners, Unique Nails, and the Woodstock Dance Academy have offered that all to us, and they still do. In addition to utilizing Stewart Cleaners as their business, I also want to speak about Roberto and Maria, how they have continued to maintain that business that had been passed to them. And from what I understand, obviously Stewart Cleaners was Stewart Cleaners and established from the Stewart family well before Roberta and Maria purchased it from the previous owners. Roberta and Maria have 2 children that have been educated here in Woodstock and continue to contribute to our community. And also, they kept their doors open during COVID. They did a lot of utilizing their own personal resources to keep those doors open and service our community here in Woodstock. In addition, and lastly, like I said, to being a resident in here, I also am a working flight attendant with American Airlines, and I've been with them for 35 years. And my uniform coat here gets a weekly clean at Stewart Cleaners. Maria cleaned and tailored this jacket, as you can see. And as a flight attendant for 35 years, I've had a number of layovers at a number of hotels. And one of the biggest part about amenities that we include, that we see as positives, whether I'm working as a flight attendant or traveling with my family or on my own vacation, is having amenities that are within walking distance to a hotel. Something like a nail salon, a cleaners when I pop a button off my uniform, or when I'm attending a formal event and all of a sudden the hem's gone out of my dress. To have the fact that I can walk out of my hotel door and go right around the corners and be greeted by Roberta and Maria at this established Cleaners, or get my nails done at the nail salon, or if my kids are antsy, send them to the dance academy for dance class, is a real plus and a unique piece to having a hotel at the location that it's projected to be. So I encourage you today as City Council to revisit your plan of taking that property on East Calhoun Street and leveling it to become a parking lot. I think they have a viable business as, like I said, as a resident here in Woodstock. It's important that we also keep amenities other than just restaurants in town for us to use and not have to go on to 47 and 14. I appreciate your time this evening. Again, if you haven't had the opportunity to get in there to talk to Roberta and Maria and understand what limited options are available to them, can't even use the word option because it's really not there. I just encourage you to rethink this plan. As a resident of Woodstock, I'd like to still be going to the Cleaners on East Calhoun Street to get my uniform cleaned and tailored. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mary Beth. Other members of the public wish to come forward under floor discussion, public comment, make comments to the Woodstock City Council this evening. Second opportunity, members of the public to come forward under floor discussion. Third and final opportunity, members of the public to come forward under floor discussion. Okay, hearing no further comments from members of the public, and I turn to members of council. Council comments this evening. Council, Melissa?
Does Gordy want to?
Well, real quick. Mary Beth, would you come back up to the mic, please? Speaking of contributions, would you tell us a little bit about your son, Peter, his contributions this past fall cross country?
Oh, what he's done?
Yeah, for Woodstock. I mean, a Woodstock young man.
Oh, our son Peter is at University of Kansas and run cross country. He actually redshirted this fall for cross country, but he is now in his indoor season and continues to make high marks on the distance path. And so it's been exciting. Actually, there's a lot of great runners here. So encouraging. But he just got a PR, took 9 seconds off of his 3,000 time at Mizzou, where he was actually photographed by another fellow Woodstock resident, which was nice. So he's doing well.
A lot of success. Okay,
yeah,
thanks.
so we're looking forward to NCAAs this summer.
Yeah.
Or this spring.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks. I just think we should recognize when we get these students from Woodstock to have success outside. So thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Gordy. Melissa.
I just wanted to make a few comments about Groundhog Day. I saw Gordy there. I saw Mike there. It was a good time had by all. I don't think we have a number yet on the estimate of how many attendees were there on Sunday, but we had a record number of pub crawlers, 353 pub crawlers with 12 locations, held the first of many annual Groundhog Day 5Ks. That was an event by the Woodstock backers. Stores are reporting better sales than lighting up the square. So grateful they were open and had the opportunity. Restaurants had record numbers. There were 700 drinks to world peace sold on Sunday by the Squire on the square, with 100 sold on Saturday. A bags tournament hosted by Ortman's raised $1,000 for our fellow Woodstock organization, Warp Core, and all around it was a great event. The Woodstock Groundhog Day Festival is bigger than just one person. It's a testament to what happens when a whole community comes together. The dedicated unsung committee and incredible mascot team don't always get the credit they deserve. Woodstock Willie alone had paws on the ground for over 35 hours. With their handler, that's 70 man-hours covered, and that's all volunteers that make that happen. I'm a proud member of the Groundhog Day Committee, but I want to shout out the real doers behind the scenes, especially Pete Reese, who single-handedly gets thousands upon thousands of brochures out into our Woodstock businesses, hotels, the B&B, up and down 47, 14, throughout, starting in November, and I think he's still delivering on the 2nd. Doug and Maggie Crane, Pam Morehouse, Craig Crandall, Daniel Campbell, Pete Reese, Debbie Reese, Sue Brokaw, Shelley Eslick, Mike Suzik, Diane Messman, Jackie Ann Cat Special, George Chase, Joe Weiland, Ken Mercaris, Lynn Royalis, Josh Berger, Theo Dice, Cindy Kerrigan, Beth Zangi, and Rick Belaris. It was a weekend outperformed or better than stores could hope for, saying that this is going to carry them into spring. And that's the power of this event. The turnout was amazing, the media coverage extensive, some stories we haven't even seen yet, but they'll live on for years to come. It's truly exemplifies teamwork with city departments, businesses, and residents all playing a part. A special shout out to our residents who acted as de facto tour guides and the best ambassadors for our amazing city. We couldn't do without them. I had so many stories of people telling me, like, we were in one restaurant, asked about something else, and the person behind us said, oh, I live on that street. You're going to want to go see this. So kudos to our residents who also love this city. So just thank you to everybody. Thanks for the visitors, the residents, the businesses, the volunteers. It's the best yet, and we're going to do it again next year.
Right. Thank you, Melissa. I'd like to echo those comments as well. I mean, it was an extraordinary day, an extraordinary weekend, and it is the culmination of an incredible group that of Groundhog Day committee people that are committed to that throughout the entire year. This is not a weekend. It's not a month. It's not 2 months. It is the entire year. And I also want to commend and thank city staff, Public Works, PD, Fire and Rescue, who provide behind-the-scenes support, Daniel Campbell and the Opera House team, our marketing department, which absolutely crushes the messaging of getting this, of what we do here, both at the time leading up to it and in follow-up, and it's built such a following that it impacts us throughout the year. And to be frank, from for a lot of square businesses, I can't say all of them, but a lot of them, restaurants included, January and February are black holes. They are difficult revenue periods for merchants because it's post-Christmas, the weather still stinks, it's still dark and cold, and this event provides an incredible shot in the arm, an incredible impact economically to our entire community. And so the fact that we've grown it as a community over 30 years into what it's become is an incredible testament to who Woodstock is, what Woodstock is as a community, and I just could not be more grateful. And it's just a fun event too. It's the center. it's the center of a universe, maybe not the universe, but it is the center of a universe on February 2nd. You know, we're still competing with, I can't believe it, those people in Pennsylvania. Don't write that, please. You know, but we do compete and outshine many others that try to replicate the same thing. So it's something that we can go home at night and feel very good about as to who we are as a community. Chamber gets behind it too. I need to mention Brad and what the chamber does in getting behind this. So it is a team effort, and it's a great achievement. Yes, Gordy.
Yeah, I was there, and Melissa, you did a great job being part of that group, and Mike did a nice job emceeing it. Chicago's doing their own now after we have had success with ours. Also, did everybody see Ned Ryerson there? The guy dressed up as Ned Ryerson.
Right. We had quite a few of them, actually.
More than one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There was a clip on the Chicago. They were talking about the Chicago one because I think Bill Murray was supposed to be there and everything. And the actual news reporter, I think they pulled it after they did it the first time, said, "Yeah, but this one compares nothing to the one in Woodstock."
That's good.
And I think that reporter got their wrist slapped a little bit. It was pretty good. I tried to find it again and couldn't.
Oh,
Got scrubbed.
yeah.
It probably did.
Yes, Bob.
Yeah, I was surprised at a couple observations as I walked from my house down there, thinking parking might be a challenge and I could walk as fast as I could park. I was surprised at how many spots were available around the streets within 2 blocks of the square. So really, that crowd seemed within the confines of the square was even larger than lighting of the square. And yet the parking.
They were on my street. I'm 3 blocks away, and they were parked in front of my
Okay,
house.
well, this is coming from the west, right? So that was one observation. The other observation was it's really converse to the idea of watching the lighting of the square during the daylight. You can see all the smiles on everyone's faces, and people were generally happy.
Very.
So, hey, very nice job. And one last thing, did we spend money upgrading the sound system yet? Okay, that was one challenge. I was standing near the chief and deputy chief on the south side of the square, and Mayor Turner, congrats to you. You were the only one we could actually hear because you amplified your voice. So
I did hear that from a few visitors. Came up to me afterwards and said they were standing south side and couldn't hear anybody. They could hear me, and it's really important. I mean, look, folks, we got to get the sound system upgraded, Roscoe. Okay, it's been out there for a while, so let's. I really don't want to have this conversation next year. Okay, and it is important too that if it's volunteers, they're maybe not used to it as much, but it does help when you use your outdoor voice, or as Coach Tebow would say, your coaching voice. All right, and to project, and it does allow you then to hear it. But I did hear that, so it's something
and it was
that we need to do.
Such a wonderful event. I was hesitant to even bring that up, but then I'm thinking, Jesus, did we approve an enhancement in the sound? And if we did, it didn't work. So I'm glad that we haven't spent the money yet, because then I would have felt bad about spending money that we didn't get our bang for.
Yes, that would be worse. Yeah. So yes, we're always looking for improvement, always, and we need to be our own assessment, our own ability for us to assess and say, hey, these things went really good. Hey, let's focus on these things, and we do that with everything. I feel like we do that with everything up here, and so that's something we want to continue to work to improve, regardless of what the topic is. Council, any other comments under floor discussion? All right, hearing none, that takes us to the next item on this evening's agenda, which is the consent calendar. Consent calendar consists of all items A through D10. A motion for concurrence would be in order.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Tebow. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Seegers. Second motion and a second on the consent calendar, all items A through D10. Turn to members of council and ask if you have any items that you wish to remove for separate consideration and voting.
Item 10.
Okay, item D10 has been removed at the request of Councilwoman McMahon. Council, any other items you wish to request to remove for separate consideration and voting? Final opportunity, members of council. Okay, turn to members of public. Members of public, any items that you wish to request to be removed for separate consideration and voting? All items remain on the consent calendar except for item D10, which has been removed for separate consideration and voting. Members of public, any items you wish to remove? Final opportunity, members of public, to request an item to be removed from the consent calendar. Hearing no additional items to be removed by members of the public, the consent calendar is thereby affirmed. It consists of all items A through D10. I will turn to members of council and ask if you have any questions on the items that remain on the consent calendar.
I have a comment for D2.
D2. Questions or comment, I should have said. Council, any other items you wish to?
D1.
D1.
Nothing.
Council, any others?
I just have a comment on D6.
D6. Turn to members of public. Any items members of public wish to make comment or question on for those items that remain on the consent calendar? Final opportunity, members of public, for question or comments. Okay, hearing none, we'll turn to the items that we have questions or comments on, starting with D1. Gordy.
Yeah, I just have a question. I understand I'm totally in favor of the proposal, the ordinance. However, residents can't put out hazardous waste or white goods, correct?
They, I believe, can. Specific white goods, and there's a charge, if I recall.
I don't think we had white goods in this contract. I think they have to find a difference. They have to contract with them directly.
Yes.
Same with hazardous waste.
Hazardous waste, MDC will not pick up. They need to bring it to a hazardous waste event.
Okay, I was looking through our city website, and if I was a new resident and I'm looking through this, I don't see anything about those two things. And maybe I'm just missing it, but I think we should have something on there that if, white goods, you have to contract with, the store, whoever, you bought an appliance, they take it back, or hazardous waste, because people will want to know those questions when they come into town.
That's a good suggestion. Definitely. Very good.
Okay.
Roscoe, you guys can do it? Do
Yeah,
that?
definitely.
Okay. Anything else on that one, Gordy?
No.
Council, any other questions or comments on D1? Okay. Next item for question or comment was D2. Melissa.
Yes, just to comment on this, not to violate any agreements or anything like that, but I would like it noted that we did discuss this in executive session, and the following day there was another offer made to the landowner that they again rejected. So we have made not 2 but 3 attempts, and I would like that noted somewhere.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa. Any other questions or comments, council, on item D2? No. I will add additional comment that if this action passes this evening, it does not eliminate the opportunity for a settlement and additional opportunity for meetings of the minds and an agreement on this. This is simply would be an action that we authorized and approved staff to do, but it does not preclude any further negotiations or discussions. Next item for question or comments, item D6. Natalie.
Yeah, D6. Just a quick comment. The modification to the K1 liquor license classification, subdivided now into 3. I call this getting creative. And I was really happy to see this, because it might seem like a small modification or something of insignificance, but change to ordinances like this that are small and may seem minute can have a significant impact on the businesses in our community. And I just like to see creative solutions like this brought forward. So I just want to commend the city staff for kind of, working with us as council and bringing something like this forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. That was the result of a liquor commission meeting with the petitioner and listening to their needs as it relates to the K liquor license, what they were going to use it for, and our own city clerk and I put our heads together and came up with an idea that the petitioner was happy with. We felt met the needs of city code, and that I felt it would be received well by the city council, and we approved it at the commission level and then referred it up here. So.
Yeah, I like it. I like to see things like that.
Yeah, thank you.
Fine job, Jane and Mayor. Fine job.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I do too.
Council, any other questions or comments on D6? Okay. Hearing no further questions or comments, the consent calendar has been affirmed, consisting of all items A through D9. D10 has been removed for separate consideration and voting. We have a motion for approval of those items that remain on the consent calendar by Councilman Tebow, a second by Councilman Seegers. It is a motion for approval of items A through D9. Council, any questions on the motion before us? Members of the public, any questions on the motion before us? It is a motion to approve. Hearing no further questions or comments, Jane, we have an appropriate motion. And second, please call the roll on the motion before us.
Councilwoman McMahon,
Yes.
Councilman Newman,
Yes.
Councilman Seegers,
Yes.
Councilman Tebow,
Yes.
Councilwoman Ziemba,
Yes.
Mayor Turner.
Yes. Those items pass unanimously in accordance with the staff report. My thanks to all for the questions and comments in the discussion. That takes us to the item that was removed for separate consideration voting, item D10, Refuse Temporary Garbage Financial Assistance Program, removed at the request of Councilwoman McMahon. Melissa.
Yes, I pulled this because I am concerned that the qualifications that you have listed don't encompass everyone who will be affected by this. The SNAP guidelines are quite lower than what most families would consider a hardship, especially with various things going on in the world around us. I did spend a good amount of time on the phone with Dr. Moen, who was giving me numbers. I don't remember the page number that noted that you expected maybe 158 families to be needing to take advantage of this that would qualify. Is that about right? Okay.
Roscoe kind of helped me with that figure.
Okay.
Yeah, the one thing we weren't able to determine is, and it's a theory, by the way, I have no evidence either way.
Yeah.
But I would, if I could, I would love to see if there's a number out there that could give me an idea of the residential living for people that are on SNAP. I have a feeling it's probably heavier in apartments and a lot less impacted by this contract at the end of the day, because they'll be in multifamily dwelling units than in single family, but there's no evidence of that. I cannot find any data that either confirms or denies that as a theory.
Correct. Yeah, and I apologize for not being able to address this weekend, but I was otherwise
some things going on.
busy. Yeah, because as of this moment, 14% of our school district, which is about 900 families, receive fee waivers. This is above and beyond the SNAP. And we couldn't yet at this afternoon when I spoke to Dr. Moen, determine how many of those are single family and not. But those are, SNAP has one number, and the realities of a family, that SNAP is not always like, if you're hitting that, you're really low. But there are people who are low who aren't hitting SNAP by like dollars. So my question for this is there will there be some sort of, is this the hard line, like the SNAP guideline is it, or will you take into consideration if someone comes in and says, look, this is a hardship, you might not realize it, but it might be. So that's, I guess, my question is that a hard guideline or requirement?
I think it's important to have some kind of line of demarcation, just for no other purpose than staff's.
That's what we were trying to do.
Staff's ability to be able to discern without subjective.
Tell you what, so we can have a discussion as a council on the on the merits or issues with this, but I think it's important for Roscoe to address Melissa's question that she asked, and to provide additional background on how you you and the team arrived at this?
Sure. There is no magic bullet for a program like this. You can't find something in another community to model off of. So we're kind of in new territory in essence. We're blazing a trail. So then looking at how other benefits are determined, staff took a look at that and we found SNAP as a viable alternative, as a way in which to kind of help guide us. Specifically to your question, if they were off, let's say they made $100 more, could there be some discretion with staff in a given month? Sure. The idea too with the application as well is that we did include in there, like if their income in 2024 was X, but they lost their job, or there were other factors that we need to consider. So that way we are looking at the entire picture, not just focusing solely on 2024 income. We felt that that was important too, because people's financial situation changes over time. So once they might have been over it, today, if you look at where they're at today, they're not. We need to know that at the end of the day. Could they be double these? There will be a cutoff though, where there's no way discretionarily we can say yes, we can make that work. So these numbers are important. If you feel like those are too low, then council needs to give us direction that you want us to move it up. They're based on a certain percentage on the federal poverty level of 165%. If council wants it to be 180 or you want it to be 200, we can come back and we can tell you what that looks like as far as the dollar thresholds that would create for you. On the flip side, though, we start moving away from can we give you maximum exposure, that becomes harder, because that was one of the advantages of using SNAP, is that you have an idea of there are statistics that say McHenry County is at a certain percentage of SNAP beneficiaries. We would be glad to work with Dr. Moen too. He might be able to give us guidelines and data we could look at if we want to model something more in line with the school district, so that we can use that to give you a better idea of what is your maximum exposure. I think the other thing, since I have the floor, I would caution council on is I think you're going to come in lower than any of the maximum exposures that have been put in here or devised by staff. At the end of the day, this is by far our worst case scenario. That's assuming 100% participation, which you're not going to get with this kind of program itself, and I think it will end up being less. But obviously changing the numbers and making it so more people qualify is going to increase more participation.
Because the calculations in here, if I'm understanding this correctly on page 173, is you looked at 188 estimated number of households in the county, and then 440 the state of Illinois SNAP. So you take a total, if I'm understanding this correctly, of 628 potential total households in Woodstock. Of that 5,200 that are current residents' homes utilizing the MDC totes, 8,000 total residential homes subject to the MDC contract. So if you take the 8,000 or 628, yeah.
So what we propose in the program is that anybody who currently has the garbage tote system is not subject, because the argument is that they can't deal with the increase.
Yeah.
And the reality is we know based on this contract, we lowered their cost. So there is no increase. So our estimate is 8,000 residents will be subject to the MDC contract, 8,000 residential housing units. Of that, 5,200 are currently served by our current contract. So that leaves your exposure to 2,800 new customers that would potentially be in a position where they would be seeking financial assistance. And then we give you two different models to try to determine what is your maximum exposure. One that is based on the SNAP benefit levels in McHenry County. We cannot see it at the Woodstock level, but we can see the county as a whole. We also let you know, from what we've seen, McHenry County is the lowest SNAP beneficiary county in the entire state of Illinois. So it rides at 6.7%. You multiply that against your exposure of 2,800 times your maximum that you would have to provide in financial assistance for the year, and that comes up to the 22.7 number. And then the other one is if, let's say they're wrong, or Woodstock has a higher participation rate. So in that case, we use the average of the state of Illinois, which is much higher at 15.7%. That gives you more households, of course. That ups you to 440 households, and it gives you a bigger maximum exposure number at the end of the day. So the reality is your maximum exposure is 53.2, worst case, I would say. Reality is you're not going to hit that. I'd be surprised if you probably come in half of what that number is, because it doesn't take into account participation rate in the program and other factors as well. So
Okay. I mean, another thing I'm concerned about is 46% of our school district either receives free or fee reduced.
sure.
That's they'll take SNAP and that's free, and then they look at your income and they'll say, well, you do qualify for reduced. So I would like someone to talk to the school and find out what those kind of guidelines are, because
Is that 46% total individual students or 46% like in the same family? That's a big difference. If it's individual children, it would be, it's a multiplier of like, well, 2.2 kids per household or something. So,
I apologize, I was in the car when I was speaking, but I believe you said 46% of the households.
yeah, that's a lot.
So, and granted, some of those are
sure they
going
can-
to be
I thought it was students.
Yeah,
I mean,
I-
I think
I-
it's
I
students.
maybe
They
it's
have-
students, but
And it could be 20-25% of households.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those households have multiple
Multiple
kids.
kids.
And that's District 200. Does
So
our
the-
contract?
I did ask him about that. The small percentage of out of town and like township unincorporated is very minimal.
What about Wonder Lake?
He did not. Well, he was only looking at like the Woodstock stuff.
That's District 200, though.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
counted in their statistics.
Either way, I'm not happy with this. I think it needs to be higher. I'm sorry, but it's going to be a hardship for a lot of families. And SNAP is one guideline, but I can tell you from experience that sometimes that is almost like I don't know how to explain it. Like you can make $100, $200 more than that, and you don't qualify for anything, but your family still needs it for the hardship.
Okay.
So I would just
So
like
just
that.
be clear, your concern is about eligibility. The amount we're proposing to help subsidize, you're okay with about half of the increase.
Yeah, I mean, if it takes more money, it takes more money. I mean, we spend money on the color of fences that now people want
I
windscreens on and
understand.
stuff, so you can find it.
There are two aspects of this, all right? And what I hear from you is eligibility, that you feel like more people should be eligible. But I also want to make sure council's okay with the level of benefit as well that we're proposing, which is based on half of what the increased cost would be, the city would subsidize. Is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some questions.
Sure.
How much does our bag fee bring in each year?
Over 100,000. It's what, 110, 120?
So if maximum is 53,000, we're not even use half the bag
Correct.
fee. Okay.
We do use roughly about 20,000 for electronic collections. So there's about 100 left.
Okay, make
And
sure
if
we
you
put-
remember, the year before, we used the 100 for a park that we used.
Yeah.
So that's roughly what's available.
Okay. Is there? So we're talking about paying half, right?
Right now, yes, half of the increase.
Could we have a two-tier where if they're under SNAP, we pay for the whole increase for a year, and then a certain amount after that, maybe 10,000 more, whatever, then we pay half?
I would only worry about, and staff would have to comment. If we start getting to a heavy administration side of this, we have gone
Backwards.
into an area that now begins to really burden staff. And this is a unique program unto itself. No other community does this in McHenry
You
County.
could not find anybody that does this.
Correct?
no.
Yeah.
Correct.
I'm concerned we're getting past our administrative skis. I don't want to get past our administrative skis
I
by
see.
making it too complex.
Well, I'm already going to ask you to put it past your administrative fees. You have in here that it's only going to be, what is this? I'm sorry. It's a sample copy. This would be using online form. Some of these, we have residents who are going to qualify for this, whether it be the seniors or not, who may not be able to fill out an online form. We've learned that over time. So I would like that either City Hall or perhaps the library, because they are the most helpful people in the world, if
That was our plan.
Yeah.
is okay.
Yeah.
Because the way it
We
reads,
went to the
it's
front counter and said they needed
We'll
to sign
fill it
up for
out.
this.
Okay.
We would stand
it
there
doesn't
and do
read
it,
like
so.
that, so I just want that.
We will have paper copies, yes.
Okay.
Our preference, of course, is online. We're trying to be as automated as possible,
Right.
but we understand we also work for the public.
I'll do what
so.
the council wants. That wasn't my idea. I wasn't going to do paper copies. I was going to have us walk through the individual to get it into the system. So
I think
everything's in the
Everything.
system.
you
Either-
all make the determination
Yeah.
of
Whatever
what you
works,
do
just-
on site.
More than just online is.
An alternative would be important. And
Um,
you guys know that already.
My response, Councilman, in regards to paying 100%, our thought was this was intended to be a bridge to deal with the increase. And the challenge when you pay 100% is you're not bridging an increase. You are, in essence, absorbing the increase completely, and you're not setting them for success in the future when they have to take on the costs on their own. So, we don't know if this is a one-year program at this point. We've proposed that, and to have a look back once we get a little farther along to see how well received it is, where we see there's some stumbling blocks. But that would be my biggest concern about we having a section where we're paying 100%. We'd be glad to explore it with you if you want to go below SNAP and you want to push even lower down in case there's concerns for that. But that you're probably looking at almost a permanent program once you start going down to that level.
I understand. Okay.
And then I have a question. How is this going to be communicated out?
We have a wonderful marketing department that I know is really looking forward to communicating this out to the public.
We will also put it on the water bills.
We will.
Okay.
And I'm sure it'll be press on our website. I mean, we'll use all the typical channels.
Claire is probably going to write an
And
article
if
on
this
it.
comes overwhelmed, I mean,
Clear will do it.
this program gets overwhelmed pretty quickly, we can always circle back.
You can?
So,
Yeah, we make it clear in the language it's not right to the program, so it's modifiable by the council at any point in time, any direction you want. So,
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, I look at this, and I don't think it's comparable to student lunch program subsidies and the like. It at full cost. If you pay full cost, you're talking about $300 a year, right? A lunch,
is a big
school
difference
lunch
to
is
certain
$5
families.
a day, or whatever, $8 a day. I think I'm very proud of the city that we came up with this idea to subsidize. I think we absolutely need a line of demarcation so there's no subjective thought process to the analysis of who's getting the subsidy or not. I think the staff has done a fine job. I'm good with going what we got here, and we review it at the end of the year, and we take a look at how many people it helped, how many people it didn't make a difference for, how many people it's impacting, and if we need to adjust it going forward. I think the staff has put a lot of time and effort into this, and to me, I feel like it's sufficient. I mean, waste is like a utility. It's, and unfortunately, we had a whole lot of people in Woodstock who were just using recycling and putting all their waste in recycling and not paying for garbage service in the past. So, there's been a problem. That's why we're addressing this here now, this year. We were kind of forced to by MDC, but yeah, I guess I propose that we just accept the staff's work here, run it through a year, and take a look back at it and see if we need adjustments from there.
Other members of council?
I would like to postpone this for staff to look at some other cutoffs and stuff. We weren't consulted with the numbers prior to it arriving in a packet. I just want you to take into account that, yes, there needs to be a limit and stuff like that, but I think you're off. If you talk to the people who live here, the ones who work here, our servers, our retail workers, $300 makes a big difference. Even if it's $300 a year, it can make or break a family. And I know that's a harsh reality for some, but it's every day.
Okay.
So
Thank you, Melissa. Other members of council? Questions, comments?
I'd be in support of postponing it. That way we could just get a little bit more information and consult with the school district. I think that would make sense too. Christmas Clearinghouse does it. We can do it.
If council goes that way, can you give us a little guidance? What a program you'd want, maybe be SNAP plus SNAP plus $1,000 or something like that? So we still use this, but we just raise it up a little bit. Another option would be would a two-tier system possibly work? I think administratively we could say that. Where it's just two numbers. Where you get half if you meet the criteria, and if you're at another level, you get a quarter, maybe.
I'm going to say, I'm going to vote for moving forward with it as it is, and we can readjust if need be.
Same here.
I'm comfortable with what's here, and I believe that we do have to have some definition around it. I do believe that it also warrants monitoring for utilization. I think it warrants us to pay attention to other measures that could potentially be used. We are plowing new ground here in even considering this as a city. I do not want it to be overly complex. I don't want it to be overly subjective, but I do want it to reach those that we've talked about here, meaning folks that are affected by the change, and we have the means to do it through the fund that we have with the bag fee. I think it's good for us. It's good policy for us to do this, but I don't want to overextend in our initial step here. I think staff has put in the thought process into it and come up with a workable, good plan. And like all plans, we will see how it proceeds. I'm comfortable with moving forward with this and then monitoring how it's used and see if there's ways that we could tweak it if needed in the future.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Council, any other questions or comments before I open it up to public?
Yeah, I got one more.
Shoot.
Okay, assuming that someone is financially disadvantaged and they were using one sticker a week, let's say. So that would be, and with our new sticker program, it's $20 basically a month. What would they be paying extra a month over $20?
Five something, right?
Yeah, $5.
The tote goes to 25 something.
Assuming not a senior, it'd be cheaper if they were a senior.
$5.17.
Yeah, it'd be cheaper. So $5.17. Yeah, I do understand what Melissa's saying, but I think I agree with Mike. This is a good first step. We can look at it later. We're not talking about vast amounts of money here, and I think that we should go ahead with this.
I'll open the floor to members of the public. Any members of the public wish to make comment on item D10? Second opportunity, members of the public. Third and final opportunity for members of the public to provide comments to the City Council on item D10. Hearing no comments or questions from members of the public, turn back to council. Final comments or questions or thoughts? Council. Okay. Council, we have an item for action. It's item D10. What's your pleasure?
I move that we approve D10, Refuse Temporary Garbage Financial Assistance Program, which is approval of a temporary garbage financial assistance program to assist residents who may experience an increase in household costs from the elimination of the sticker option for garbage service and not have the financial capabilities to immediately absorb the associated cost increase.
Okay. Thank you, Corey. We have a motion for approval of item D10. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Seegers. Council, there's a motion for approval and a second on item D10. Any questions on the motion before us? Council? Members of the public, any questions or comments on the motion before us? It is a motion to approve item D10. Hearing no questions or comments from members of the public, we have a motion and a second on approval for item D10. Jane, please call the roll on the motion before us.
Councilman Neerman,
Yes.
Councilman Seegers,
Yes.
Councilman Tebow,
Yes.
Councilwoman Ziemba,
No.
Councilwoman McMahon,
No.
Mayor Turner,
Yes. Item passes by a 4-2 vote. My thanks to council for the discussion and for staff for your work on this item. Takes us to the last item on this evening's agenda, which is future agenda items. Turn your attention to page 177 of the council packet. It shows the proposed future agenda items for February 18th and March 4th.
Two.
February 18th is looking a little light. So on February 18th, two of us will be absent from that meeting. I will be absent, and Councilwoman Ziemba will be absent. We'll be joining Roscoe, Danielle,